So, of course, in real estate, we say that there's absolutely no secret sauce. But what if I told you that with the right person and the right conversations, you could go from almost $0 in production to $12 to $15 million? I'm really excited to share with you some of those secrets and, of course, some of the hard work that you get to put in and get yourself in the right room with the right coach so that you too could be a $15 million producer no matter what the market tells you. This is From the Ground Up, and I'm Lindsay Smith here with Christa Matthews, who is the REAP coach here at Keller Williams SouthPark.
Hi.
Hi. I'm excited for this today.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited to have you as a REAP coach. Tell me what REAP stands for.
REAP stands for the Real Estate Accelerator program.
And why that name?
I think there are so many kind of buzzwords around increasing your business, growth and accountability and all the things, and wanted to sort of take that concept and put it in a new light where it's a program to accelerate your career to wherever you kind of need it to be. And so I think all agents are looking for that. If you're new, mid-level, experienced, we're always looking for the growth and the acceleration. So I thought it seemed appropriate.
I agree. It's always fun to accelerate your business.
Yes.
So you came into real estate when? Into the real estate world. When did you enter this fun world?
Well, I was in real estate with family, with a commercial business, kind of from teenagehood up. Got my license in 2015. And so really kind of been just dabbled in it kind of since I was young. But then had a career with kids and, ended up doing small business management for about 15 or 20 years while I was raising my kids, both family businesses, several family businesses. And so that's what I spent my time doing. And then my family had a commercial business in Charlotte that had been since my great-grandparents. Family changes, we decided to sell it, and so we did that kind of as a family decision. And now my dad and my sister and I took that income, and we've now reinvested in several rental properties and that kind of thing in the Asheville area.
And you guys also you invested in some commercial too.
Yes, we did have. Hurricane Helene changed that a little bit. And we're working on that. But yeah, so I've always kind of been in it, never really thought about it, I guess, but I've always just that's been part of growing up. Managing people. How do you grow a business? How do you deal with family in a business? All the relationships and the emotions and everybody wanting to do more, but lots of opinions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got licensed in 2015 for residential. Decided to go residential instead of commercial.
Why did you make that move?
I don't know. I think I was just, I don't know. I probably would have done it differently now that I know what I know.
Okay.
Because I feel, we could go down that rabbit hole, but I think I was sort of burnt on the commercial side of just because we were dealing with family, and it was just a whole different animal. I was like, well, let me just go try something else. And I really loved to learn. I loved getting my license, all the things, the post-licensing, like I love that. I don't know, I could be the forever.
A lot of us dread.
I know, I could be the forever student. But yeah, so I went the residential route and was dealing with some stuff personally that was making that hard. And so I tried to figure out, how do I stay in this industry and keep learning and keep managing and keep helping people. And so I had the privilege of hooking up with an agent that was new to KW, had been in the business for a long time.
Okay.
But he was looking to grow a team, and I had the kind of the leverage that he needed just from my kind of business background. And so we sort of ran with that for the next 9 years and developed great relationships, a great team, really grew a business that was a well-oiled machine, lots of accountability, lots of systems, operations, and I was really kind of key at that part of it, just based on my background.
You have a background in psychology, right? Is that what your background
I have a
is in?
master's, in counseling psychology. So, which ironically can be used in any industry, right? Because
100%.
it's just about wanting to help, being able to see success and wanting somebody else to succeed without looking at yourself, like not being like, well, what do I get out of it?
Right.
And so it works in real estate. It works with clients. It works with teams. It works with leadership. You just have to be willing to listen. And I find with clients now, you got to listen. You got to read between the lines. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of things that maybe they don't know how to say that you maybe kind of got to, redirect them to.
Right.
Stumbling blocks that they aren't aware that they've got. So anyway, it's all kind of like meshed together, and it works well.
So you took this solo agent basically, and really helped create a team that was producing at its height.
Let's see, 65 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first step in going from kind of that solo agent? Obviously the first step was hiring you, and then what did you do after that? Like, how did you go from A to B?
Well, I was brand new to the industry and KW. He was new to KW. And so we were both learning the systems and the 411 and the DTD2 and the 135 and all the acronyms, right?
All of our Kellerisms.
And we applied it all. I mean, everything that we could. We jumped on the KPA when we were hiring agents. We just really did all the things that we could.
Okay.
Some worked, some didn't, but we were willing to try all of it. So we just really worked on database and hired an agent. We had a TC, and over time we ended up with 3, administrative roles, including myself. And we had at the most 4 agents, including the team leader.
Right.
So we just kind of did all of it. And systems and creating replication, right? And
the scaling piece.
The scaling it's difficult. Mm-hmm. You're going to go from a team of 3 or 4 agents, and you're trying to get to 15. That's like whoa.
Yeah.
And it's hard. But if you do all the right things and you're willing to learn and get someone to help you make your team more efficient, then it can work just fine.
What was the biggest system that you put in that you guys saw the biggest return of investment, or the biggest piece that you were like, if we went from 3 agents to 15 agents, this one system, we would adapt it a little bit more to help us with that. But what was the biggest one for you? Or the most useful?
I think at the end of every year, we're doing our business planning, which you have to do. You've got to do that.
Not too late to do it now, too.
Right? You can do it any time of the year. But looking back at what we had done for the year, what worked, what didn't, what did we want to do but didn't, what did we do that didn't work, really analyzing that every year, and you've got to do that. That was really important. And also, I think that our top 5 sources of business didn't really change that much. And so every year, but just like a lot of agents, right? We all want to do the fun things, and let's have this event. But if you have history in your business and those things haven't provided you the ROI, then why are you doing them?
Yeah.
So really focusing on what worked and what worked well, and just keep doing it. Not that it was as super fun,
Right,
it's kind of boring,
mundane.
It's kind of old.
Yeah.
It's like, we already did that, but it worked.
Right.
So I think that's, if we had chosen to continue to grow, We would just had to expound on the things that we knew worked well.
Right.
That's really kind of what we did at the end of every year.
So really just focusing on what was working and really silencing the noise behind you seemed to help you guys in that success.
And the other thing we implemented from the beginning, from 2016, was me meeting with agents on our team. It varied. Sometimes it was weekly, sometimes it was monthly, depending on, was it COVID, was it not, all those. But really holding accountability meetings, looking at numbers versus goals, pipeline, and really addressing the things agents said they wanted, both from a personal, this is my personal financial goal, and I'm also a team member, and I've got a team goal, right?
Yeah.
And so meeting weekly, or I guess like I said, it just depended, but and holding people accountable to those numbers, and not in judgment, but in, this is what you said you wanted to do. What happened?
Right.
And I think it really drove them, because our particular team and most agents are inherently competitive, right? And so
Yes.
when you're like, oh, well, that person did, oh, well, I want to do that, so just kind of, that really worked.
So that level of transparency of almost seeing everybody else's numbers, that takes a lot, Christa. People are really scared to show what they're doing and what their real numbers are, but you did it in a really caring way that they wanted to share them with you.
Yeah, and I was able to kind of put in the interpersonal skill that I had and the rapport to look at some of their personal things that were maybe getting in the way, if they allowed me to do that, and I had that permission.
Right.
And it was like a lot of aha moments.
How important was that to be able to kind of get into that personal level too?
It's very important to me. But I realize that not everybody might be that way, right?
Right.
I'm an open book. What you see is what you get. There's not a lot to me that I probably haven't already shown you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it just took time with some of our agents to build the trust, and but it worked over time.
Right. Because your personal goals really do affect your business goals. I'm really that's been my focus this year, is what I want personally and then how that translates to what I want professionally.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we focus so much on the business side, we forget the personal side.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, that does happen. It's all your courses and your classes and your trainings. It's all business, and personal's got to go into it, and it will drive what's going on with you personally will drive your business too. And it's okay for it to change. It's okay for it to differ and alter and come back, or veer off and come back. But you just got to be aware of it,
right? So now you're back in a different role here.
Yes.
Which I'm excited for. I'm excited for the office, and I'm excited for the growth for these agents that you're now working with. So you've created this REAP program. What's your goal for it? And what's your goal for your agents that are working with you now in this role?
My goal is to build people's businesses. It truly is. It's not. It's just really at my soul level. Helping is just what I like to do, and I like to see and oh my gosh, she really did help me see that, or that's really what motivates me. The response has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think we all know, lots of agents know, gets talked about all the time, that we all kind of get veered off and we all get distracted, and getting in someone to say, hey, what'd you do this week, is very helpful. And so response to the program has been really great. And you said, how am I helping? What are their, here's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Lack of a business plan, lots of goals, well, I want to make this amount. I want to do this amount of units. I did this last year, so I'm going to do this now. Lots of wants.
Do you see a lot of double? I just want to double what I did last year.
Yeah, I just want to do, last year I did 10, now I want to do 36.
Yeah.
Okay, well, perfect, great. What are we going to do?
And why?
Yes, yes. And I think the why I'm also hearing is overcomplicated.
Okay.
I think there might be this, like, I have to come up with this very self-help book why I'm working, you know, when it's not. It doesn't have to be that. It can be very deep if you want it to be.
Sure.
But in general, it's, I got to pay off my debt, or I got school loans that are killing me, or I want to buy my mom's house for her, or I have a family of 4. And that's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah.
You know, like, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but
Right.
it can be deep at the same time. And so I think the why agents tend to lose focus on, because we're just working in the business all the time. You know, that adage, working in the business and not on it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the working on it is the plan. And you don't have to try to figure out what you're going to do today, because you have the plan of what you're supposed to do today. You know what I mean?
It could be that simple.
It could be that simple. And so what I'm finding is I'm just working on their plans with them, and then they're getting to choose, this is my skill, I'm going to do it this, I'm going to use this, and this to get there. Okay, well then let's break that down again. And so I think it's just taking the kind of Oz behind the curtain away, you know.
Yeah. Because it does, so many agents really, I mean, you know, we had such a big influx of agents in 2020 and 2021, and I laugh, you'll hear me say this, but and I was in the business then, that was very much a lead receiving world we were living in. We didn't have to work for it. It really came to us. It was like, you know, those golden era times. Yes. It was fantastic. And now, what I'm excited about is we get to slow down and we get to really decide what we want to do, what we want to build. But for a lot of agents, that can be really scary and overwhelming. How are you kind of working through with those agents who came in during that time? And now we're in 2025, we're 4 years later. The market is different. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Housing is a basic need. You've got to have a place to live, right? And so we'll always be selling one way or another, you know, selling and buying. And so what are you really having those conversations with those agents? What are those conversations looking like right now in your world?
I think we're going to get deeper into that as, you know, the program started in December. So I'm really kind of getting really into the second or third session with some agents. I think it just boils down again to, if you have a plan, before you didn't have a plan before, and that's part of the issue with that time frame in the industry, was you didn't have to have a plan.
No.
All you had to do was raise your hand and you had a buyer, and almost
100%.
too many to deal with. Like, some went away because you just didn't have time.
Correct.
And so that just mirrors where we are now, which is, if you don't have a plan, it's just, now your no plan means no business. There, your no plan meant you had business.
Lots of it, too.
Yeah, and lots of it.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of showing that dichotomy of no plan and no plan is the same.
Right.
But now you have no money with no plan. Yeah.
Now you're broke.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible spot to be in.
Yeah.
That's a horrible spot to be in.
Yeah, so I think it's, again, they're just a little overwhelmed. How do I do this?
Yeah.
But when we start to really talk it through, it's like, well, that's not that hard, because I'm good at this, this, and this. Yeah.
Right.
But just kind of making it concrete.
Yeah. And you're going very personal with their business plans. Like, not personal as in, you know, family, but you're going personalized. I guess that would be a better word for it.
Yeah.
Because if you and I were sitting down and you said, okay, Lindsay, I want you to cold call this list, I would be like, oh, no, thank you. Like, you can't make me do that. But if you were like, go to an event or, go network this way, like I would be more comfortable with that. And I think that's the other piece, is that we think when we say go lead gen, it just means pick up the phone and make all these random cold calls. And that doesn't feel very personalized. And that's not who some people are great at that. And I give them a ton of credit. That's just not me.
Right.
And that's okay. That's not how I built my business. And so I love the fact that right now you're getting really personal with these business plans and what's working for them.
Yeah, and working with agents that are out of PC or kind of the mid-level agent have got some transactions behind them. They've got a history of where their business came from. Things have worked, things that haven't. So it's guiding them on what did well, where did your work come from last year? That whole, what are your top 5 sources of business?
Yeah.
If it's not cold calling, then don't add that to your to-do list. You know what I mean?
Because you'll just cry every time you go to pick up that phone.
Why are you going to pick something new that hasn't worked for you when something else has? And that was a lesson just from years past of why are we trying something new? We know what works.
Right, because like you said, it's almost that shiny object, like you're chasing after, well, this worked for somebody else, so why can't it work for me?
Right, and they had success, so I need to do that. Well, you need to do what your skill set advocates for too, right? So it's those kind of personalized conversations I see a lot of like, oh, okay, well, I can do that. Like, I love doing this or this. Okay, then let's figure out how to do more of that.
Yeah.
It's not quite so intimidating.
Right. So there really isn't a secret sauce. It's just going back to doing what you love to be able to help the people that you want to help.
And doing the things will bring the business, but it's the doing them that sometimes is the hurdle.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's a lot of work.
It is.
And I think you were talking about the agents came in during 20 and 21. It was the ultimate dream of, I want to be a real estate agent. I want to be flexible and I want to have a good income and,
yes,
but that lead gen part didn't get incorporated.
Right.
And so I think we're just kind of starting over a little bit with that.
That's exactly what it feels like. And I feel like agents are really searching for those systems that are going to work for them, those tools that they need that have been missing. And we're really, and I'm not knocking any of those agents because I didn't come in much earlier than that.
No, they did phenomenal business.
They did phenomenal business.
And they were helpers too. They were doing this industry because they like to help people.
Yes, I agree.
And so...
But it was it just was different.
Yeah, just different. Not bad, just different.
Just different. And, now really learning and really creating what you want and, doing all of that has been an interesting... So if you had to tell somebody, we're literally like first Monday of the year.
Yeah.
Focus on one thing. What are you telling them to focus on for 2025?
If they're new, if they're kind of figuring out.
Let's say they're brand new.
Okay.
They've got maybe 2 or 3 transactions under their belt. Which is exciting when you're a new agent, right? What should they be focusing on right now?
I would say focusing on, much like we've already talked about, the activities that they're going to do. How many of them? Let's say it's open houses.
Okay.
I love open houses. I love I love all the things. Okay, let's expound on how you get more leads from that and how many are you going to do? How often? Like a true just breaking down the plan because,
right.
I'm going to do 10 this year. Okay. That less than 1 a month.
Yeah, that sounds really simple.
Yeah. So, and also challenging the limiting beliefs they have.
Oh.
Well, for instance, I really want to do this and I need to triple my business and I'm going to do 1 open house a month. And I said, well, why don't you do 3 a month or 4 a month?
Right.
Oh, really? Yeah. If you really like doing them, just do more of them. So the one thing for them to do is just to figure out what activities you're going to do every day and
yes.
how many of them.
Yeah, I think that's the piece, is having that measurable, like, instead of just saying, I'm going to do open houses this year, it's like, okay, but how many? How often?
Yeah.
What are they going to look like? What's your follow-up going to be with them?
Yes.
Like, there's
That's
more to
another key
it.
piece is follow-up. Oh gosh, we could go on for hours.
That is my least.
Is a big
Yes.
is a big nugget I've heard from everybody, because we all like to do the things. We like to talk to the people and have the networking event, but what about afterwards?
Right.
And some of that is just learning how to do it afterwards. How do you make it easy?
Yeah.
And then, or how do you get someone to help you do it? You know, kind of that leverage concept.
Wait, so expand on that some more when you say, like, because that almost sounds like leverage. So are you talking more of somebody to help you with the open houses, or are you talking maybe somebody more leveraging a person to help you with the follow-up or the...
Yeah, maybe creating your, if it's a follow-up, because that really is a huge...
Yeah.
That's a repeating thing that clients or agents are telling me.
Yeah.
Someone to create your smart plans for you, or enter your open house people in your database and put them on a smart plan. You know, it could be very simple.
Right.
Or social media is a real easy one.
Right.
I don't do social media. I don't know. I don't like it. If I need it, I'm going to have to get somebody to do it for me, because I'm just not good at it. But there is a point when you're a newer agent, sometimes you got to do stuff yourself because you don't have the income yet to be able to get someone to help you. So learning how to do it's important too, but just depends on kind of where you are.
Yeah. I was always taught, if you've got to do it first yourself, so that this way you know if it's right or wrong, or if you're doing it the way that you want it to be done. And then after that, once you've mastered it, then you can hire somebody, which I think is a really important thing. If it's something you don't love, master it so that you know, and then go out and leverage it out.
Yep.
And I think the follow-up piece is the one thing that agents don't love to do as much.
They don't. But you can't hire someone right away. You gotta do some of it. It doesn't have to be hard. It's just, kind of the busy work of making a smart plan and making sure you put somebody in your database.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest piece too, is really loving on that database as an agent. Like, we forget that could be our gold mine. Yeah,
and most of the agents I've talked to have a decent database. They've got people in there, and they know people, and their phones are full of people. It's not organized. So we're also having those conversations of, how do you organize it? How do you make it so you can pull out people that you need and make sure the things you're going to provide them make sense for who they are?
Right.
That kind of thing.
So you mean you don't want to just call and be like, hey, I'm following up?
Yeah. Hey, I was just calling to check in. Why?
Right.
Right. It doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be complicated. So.
That's always, I think, the hardest part, is what to say sometimes when you're following up too.
Yes.
You try to bring them value, but just checking in is not bringing value.
Right. New Year's is a great one. Calling to say Happy New Year. I hope you had that's an easy one. You're not asking for anything. You're not, hey, just checking in. It's a reason to call.
It's a reason.
I'm updating my database. It's a reason to call. Or email or text. I find a lot of agents just want to text. And I said, well, that's okay. But
a phone call goes further.
It does.
Yeah, the one-on-ones go a little bit further, which it's nice. It's nice to have a phone call when somebody's checking in to see how 2024
it's slower,
is.
And I think that's one of the hiccups too. Is everybody wants to be really fast and get done with their lead gen, and so a mass text is, I just mass text 50 people, so I'm done. And it's like, well, okay. But how many responses did you get? And did you follow up? Or is that too many? Did you get too many responses?
Right. And how do you be intentional with them?
And now what do you do with them?
Yeah. I like it. They redid, so one of the tools that you mentioned was the DTD2, which I love, right? Because that's a systemized approach to making sure that you're having heartfelt conversations with people that are in your database. And this year, the new schedule actually has you calling, and then it does have you actually sending a text message too. So it's actually
Okay,
become,
good.
which I just found out this
need to see
weekend, and
that,
I
yeah.
love that. I think that that's a great.
Well, I think it's relevant to the generation we're in.
Yes.
And just to how people are communicating as a species.
It gives you a lot of opportunities
Right.
to reach out to people, and
Yeah.
it gives you a way to reach them maybe via phone call, a voice call, and then a text message. And so I think that's really important.
Yep.
So what are you looking forward to the most in 2025, both personally and professionally?
Oh gosh, personally, I'm on a journey to sort of put myself first, which historically and just as a person, I don't tend to do that, both as a mother and a daughter and a sister and and so, and I hate even saying that because it just doesn't feel right to me, but I guess where I am in my life, it's a necessary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean to the detriment of others. It just means maybe I need to consider something, not someone else's needs first.
Yeah.
And that's just with age, I suppose. Business-wise, I really want to see this program grow. Having been here for a while at SouthPark, there've been lots of different programs, designed differently, run differently, different information, and this is a new concept. So I kind of just want to see where that goes and how agents respond.
Yeah.
And to see their business grow.
Right. Right. I'm
That's the ultimate
excited
goal.
for you to watch their businesses grow too.
Me too. I'm like, ooh, I'm just ready for they will report back and say, oh, I made my contacts and I got 2 leads. I'm like, yay! What are we doing with them? But it's like,
What are we doing with them?
but like, it's like, okay, yes, like it does work. And I see their faces light up like it actually, I did
be
it.
successful.
I did it
Yeah.
and it worked. And it was like, yeah. So I'm excited for that because I do feel like I have a unique skill to be able to have kind of direct conversations that are challenging but also motivating.
Yep.
And I'm just excited to see what kind of impact that has.
Yeah. I am too. I'm excited to see the business plans that come out of your program.
Ooh, it gives me just give me an idea.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love seeing the focus. That for me, to watch those agents really get focused and for them to even pop by and say, I met with Christa and this is what we're going to focus on now. And I'm like,
Oh, okay, good.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I almost feel, I don't know about you, I don't do New Year's resolutions. I
don't
do
either.
a word of the year.
Okay. What's your word?
My word this year, it's very weird, but it came from a conversation with my coach. And my word is actually counterbalance.
Okay.
Not balance. Do you know where the word counterbalance comes from?
No.
Okay, so obviously Gary Keller and Jay Papasan have written lots of books.
Yes.
All right, the MREA book is still so influential in entrepreneurs.
Yep.
They also wrote the book called The One Thing. And in The One Thing, Jay and Gary talk a lot about, we love this idea of balance, like this work-life balance and this. But he says, you're never actually going to be able to achieve that balance because in order to achieve it, you're just constantly kind of moving.
It's like a seesaw. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, what if you focused on the counterbalance, knowing that you're going to have to give something up to achieve something else? What are you willing to give up to achieve that something else? And it's not for forever. And so it's this idea of you will never truly be balanced, that you're always, just as humans, we're always going to have to kind of give something up. So that's my word of the year, is really looking at kind of the noise in my life.
Yeah.
And being like, what noise can I give up to help me achieve the bigger dreams and the bigger goals that we have? So that's my word.
I love that.
I know. It's very different. When I tell people, they're like, It doesn't sound as profound to them as it did to me at the time.
It sounds similar to what I was saying. Just changing what you focus on is it's gonna have to do this.
Correct.
It's like the market, right?
Yes.
It's never always a buyer, always a seller market.
Never.
It may be slower than,
right.
what we can
There's a
achieve
counterbalance
daily,
piece to it. So that was very eye-opening. What's your word for 2025 if you had to come up with one? I know, I put you on the spot.
You did.
I know. I think The Office is going to be focus. Like, I think as a whole, Keller Williams' word of the year needs to be focus.
Well, that'll achieve a lot.
I know.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be focused on everything.
No.
Yeah.
No. It could just be on
Just on a couple of
little
things. But figuring out what those are is the challenge.
Yeah. That's why I love the 135, is because we always want to focus on so many different things. Or like you said, what are your 5 lead sources? This year, we were challenged as team leaders to take it from, it used to be like 8 different things to focus on. And this year they challenged us to, what if you just had 4 things you focused on? And even that I think that even feels so much more liberating to be like, I don't have to focus on all of this. I can actually even narrow it down, and instead of focusing on 8 things, I'm going to focus on 4 things. And so even going from 5 lead sources to 3, like what if you were really intentional about those 3 items?
Well, and going back to when I referenced on our team, the 5 lead sources, 4 and 5 were always fluctuated. 1, 2, and 3 were always the same. Right, so the others were like just happened to, or just kind of organically or whatever. So it can be difficult to focus. It is a big burden relief to feel like, oh, okay, I can only have to think about 4 things now.
Right.
That could be.
So if we could just focus, if we could focus on why we're doing what we're doing, what we need to fulfill that why. It could be a really cool year for SouthPark. Yeah. It's gonna be. We're just gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a cool year for SouthPark.
24 was tough for some, so
yeah.
It can only get better.
Are you gonna read anything new this year? Any new books this year that you would recommend to anybody who's getting into real estate or?
So, of course, I'm gonna say the MREA because I've read it 10 times.
We're reading it right now together too.
Actually, I've read it all the way through.
I won't judge, I promise.
Okay, all the way through, this is probably my 2nd time.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was picking out nuggets and I heard something and I'd go read about it. But I would encourage, if you haven't, start from the beginning and go to the end. Like we talked about this the other week.
Yeah.
This is the first time really for me, I'm like, it's all these light bulbs like, oh, I've been hearing that for 10 years. Oh, okay. It's like boom, boom, boom. So in general, personally, I am not a reader. It puts me to sleep.
Really?
If I want to go to sleep, I pick up a book. It takes me forever to read a book. So my friends are like, oh, I read 16 books this year. And I'm like, I read 16 recipes. So.
I'm not judging.
Yeah.
So do you do audiobooks or do you do podcasts or what do you do? Because you are a learner.
I am. It's funny you say that because I don't know.
Do you prefer seminars?
Yes, I like in person, a class. Yeah.
Okay. If you would take one class this year to set you up for 2025, and you can make it up, like it might not even exist yet, but like if you were going to go to a class this year, what would be the most valuable class?
Well, I think
for you
I already.
this year?
The one I took back in, I guess it was October, November, was the business planning clinic.
Yeah.
And I think having done that a lot too, it's always like okay. And so especially depending on your role, if you're doing it for a team, it makes a big difference. If you're doing it for yourself, it reflects another way.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a have to.
And you're teaching one this month. right? Are you teaching
Yes.
a business planning?
Yep. Well, it's the, what did we call it?
I don't remember what we named it.
It's the last week of January. But it will be looking at touching on life by design. How do you figure out what's your net?
Yes.
What do you need to bring home?
Right. Instead of just this mythical number.
Instead of I want to make this amount,
Right.
how much do you have to make for your goal, for your expenses, and also your savings, and your, more than just about what your bills are.
Right.
Or a percentage over what you made last year, and so that would feel better.
Yes.
Like a real number.
Growing, yeah.
So we'll talk about that. Then do the actual calculations and math on, so how much GCI do you need to do that? Because you got to sort of work backwards. And
Yes.
then how many buyers and listings does that mean you need?
Right.
And then how many people do you need to talk to make that happen?
Right.
So it's not a difficult thing. It's just sitting down and doing the math.
Well, and breaking it down into little pieces like that
Yeah.
is what is the helpful piece of that.
Yeah. And the second part of that class will be the activities,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
then marketing and prospecting, which
Yep.
is the follow-up, so it's going to be now, I got my numbers, I know what I have to do. Now, how am I going to do it? And if you're in coaching, we go way deeper than that.
Yes.
And really break it down much further. This class will be a great overview,
Yeah.
So for those that don't have any kind of plan
Yeah.
or goal beyond one that just kind of sounds good. So
That'll be really good. That's something that anybody who is new to the business or struggling really needs to get themselves into.
yeah, and you can do it any time of the year. If you're newer or you don't have one and it's
Right.
August, let's make one now.
Right. You should be reviewing it too monthly to know
Yes.
where you are and what needs to change. And that's kind of the great piece about working with you is that there is that review, and it's easy. Like we always say, or at least I say, like, oh yeah, I looked over my goals, and then you're like, oh, did you really? Like, did you just look at the piece of paper with them written down, or did you really look at them? And so
Yeah.
when somebody else is like, let's look at them together, you're like, shoot, I really gotta get
Yeah, and we all do it.
I know. That's the human in us.
Yeah.
We don't want to fail somebody else. It's easier to
Or you
fail
go
ourselves.
to a great class and you leave and you're like, class is done. Well, what are you going to take away from
Yeah.
it? So
What are you going to implement?
what are you going to implement? And with this coaching program, it's someone to say, okay, what did you implement?
And how did it feel? And what was the return on it? And what was...
Because I think when there's really you're going to see these agents are going to see some return, it's going to feel really good.
It is. I agree. I'm excited for you for 2025. I'm
you.
excited
Me
for
too.
what you're going to help a lot of these agents do this year too. I'm excited for all of that. So
Yeah, me too. I appreciate the opportunity.
absolutely. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good to chat.
I don't know how to end these. I don't know that we need an ending, do we?